Hi fantasy managers, welcome to FPL Team Talk. In this video I'm going to go through my watch list for game week 6. We're going to quickly talk about how I got on in game week 5, then talk about the players that I am looking or potentially thinking about moving in for game week 6. So if you enjoy this sort of video, give it a like, don't forget to subscribe, and in the meantime let's jump into it. So here we have it then. My game week 5 was a bit of a damp squid, bit of a disaster, and I guess the only crumb of comfort I can take from this score of 38 points is that a lot of FPL managers were left in the same boat. However, it still saw me hit quite a drop and a red arrow in my performance. Not much can be said. I got Saka, got a decent return. Haaland could have been much better, and strangely enough wouldn't normally make a difference, but given that quite a few people winning on Son and Maddison for captaincy, he could have been a bit of a saviour for me if Haaland had put a few more of those chances away. But nonetheless, Chilwell being benched was a blow. Estupinian not playing, but he wasn't even in my side to start with. So Turner and Arnold was one of the big questions. Ended up it didn't really make any difference because neither of them kept a clean sheet. So the only attacking returns I had was Saka and Haaland, with Saliba keeping a clean sheet. So a few things that I do have to talk about and think about when I'm looking at my watch list. And then we have my overall rank, just over 1 million now. Started off about 3 weeks ago, around about 300 or 200k. It's slowly gone down. I don't feel I'm doing a lot wrong, if I'm honest. I do have a lot of flexibility. I've got 2 transfers, so I'm going to have to do something. And 2.6 in the bank. I obviously haven't used any of my chips yet. Looking at a wildcard possibly in game week 9, I'm thinking. And the prices of all the players you do on the screen, they are fluctuating, but these are the prices that I would be able to sell players at. So I know Saka is worth 8.7 at the moment, time of recording. He's actually, I can only get 8.6 for him. So I wanted to show you this because there's a few players that I am concerned about. Obviously, Chilwell missed out in that match against Bournemouth away. I'm not too concerned. I think we'll obviously have to wait until Pochettino comes back, but he had a glowing report about him playing left wing but previously before Bournemouth and going into that game. There was rumours about a knock. I've not heard anything that says that's confirmed, and he was away on England duty. I just can't see a way in where Chilwell just does not play week in, week out, whether it be at left back or further forward. Hopefully, I just think he comes straight back in. So I'm not in a rush to get rid of Chilwell. I'm happy to keep him. The same with the other 2 Chelsea players. Now, it's obvious they haven't scored against Forest, they didn't score against Bournemouth. The fixtures still look pretty decent. Villa at home is not an easy game. Fixtures after that look pretty decent. I'm just holding them. Sterling's not going anywhere at the moment, and I know Nicholas Jackson's frustrating, and he is frustrating for me. I think the only upside for me is I did bring him in before the Luton game, so he did get returns in that match. I'm just going to hold him for now. He's potentially one that could come out. But with those fixtures being so good, it's a hold. With so much money in the bank, other players could come in. I don't need to get rid of him. And I do like the fixtures, so I'm just going to keep hold of it at the moment. Other questions I have is I do worry about Foden. And with the European matches starting, he does seem to be being brought off quite early in some games. So that's a worry. And Lewis just is not playing. I've fallen into the old Pep trap, which I'm really kicking myself for. Played the first game of the season, brought him in when we got to early team news, and he's just not played a game since. So it is a worry. I'm hoping we'll get some early team news on Saturday, so I could react to that. But otherwise, with Chilwell not playing or coming off the bench, Estupinian not being part of the squad, and Lewis potentially not playing, Udogie's got a game against Tottenham, and obviously Saliba's playing. Sorry, Udogie against Arsenal and Saliba against Tottenham. So that's not a great fixture. My defence looks really poor and all over the place. So I'm definitely looking at a defensive transfer, and it'll be Lewis that will have to come out. Estupinian, I just can't see being left out of the squad. It was, again, he just had a lot of miles to travel. Let's wait and see what happens in Europe. Does he end up rotating? It is a worry that Lamptey came in and did so well, because now there looks like a sort of ready and able fullback to take Estupinian's place. So that's a worry. Turner could lose his place. We'll have to wait and see what happens to that. And Arsenal have a fixture at the weekend, which you would say Tottenham's not easy, and I've doubled up on Saka and Odegaard. But again, less worried about that. I do think Arsenal can score against anyone. Haaland, great fixture, and Matoma at home to Bournemouth, happy to keep him. So there are a few fires that I feel I need to put out on my side. Let's have a look at some of those players that I am looking at to replace them. First up then, let's have a look at Kieran Trippier. He's been brought in by over 70,000 FPL managers so far. And Newcastle are a side that we can look to target. They've got some good fixtures coming up. Sheffield United, Burnley, Palace, West Ham away. Looks like a fairly decent fixture as well. And with so many issues in so many of our defences, Chilwell being benched, Estepinian left out the squad, lots of Rico Lewis I've got that are not playing, then yeah, suddenly Newcastle defenders and defenders in general look like a good option. If we compare the options in that Newcastle defence, because their fixtures have turned and look so good, we've got realistically Trippier, Botman and Shah. Now, given the straw poll of this season so far, it does paint a bit of a picture that just clearly gives an advantage to Botman, and maybe that's why so many FPL managers have chosen as their preferred choice. The fact that he's 4.5 gives him a bit of an added bonus. That's 2 million cheaper than Kieran Trippier, and he's the only one that's got any sort of attacking return so far, and his XGI backs that up with 0.29, which is decent. Historically, you look back over the last few seasons though, and Trippier clearly wins this, Shah coming second and Botman third. So how much of this we can really take notice this season, I'm not too sure, because from my mind I don't see a lot that's particularly changed in that Newcastle defence, except maybe that so far the games they've had have been pretty tricky. And with European fixtures coming up, you do wonder with the likes of Livramento in that Newcastle squad, when is he going to get minutes? He's going to be playing at some point, and Trippier was the one that makes way. Botman looks pretty nailed, the most nailed I would say in that Newcastle defence at the moment. 4.5, I am steering towards that. The only caveat I would say, the only thing that I would say is, looking at bonus points, Trippier picked up 2 at the weekend. He hasn't had any sort of attacking returns yet. Last year, Botman, I think, got 6 off the top of my head. Shaw got 9. And when I looked through the figures, Trippier ended up with 39. So that's over a point a game in terms of bonus. And he's picking up 2 at the weekend for not even doing anything, purely because of his attacking potential, set pieces, and the way that the bonus points are worked out for his attacking threat as a defender. So he is a bit of a bonus point monster. So an extra point a game on average he's gaining, is that enough to justify 2 million? I'm not sure. I think if we found out at the weekend he came in with an assist and they kept a clean sheet, 3 bonus points, he would then become the sort of talking point of FPL. I'm unsure. For 2 million, I think I would be more cautious because that's the type of manager I am, and I would go for Botman, A, for his minutes, and it gives me extra flexibility up front, but in terms of money. Shah offers a little bit more attacking threat, I do think, but probably for my mind, in my opinion, not enough to go for him based on what we've seen this season. But Trippier is absolutely, if I had to gamble or bet on which one of these was going to end up with more points or more attacking returns throughout the season, my money would absolutely, without a shadow of doubt, be on Trippier. But FPL isn't always about that, and it's about how much money you get for your points. He is 6.5, and that is quite expensive. All of these look like decent options. If you think that Trippier is absolutely nailed, going to play the league games, and you think he's going to pick up assists along the way, yeah, maybe he's the man to go for, because with those bonus points, he could really make a difference in your side. Moving away from that Newcastle defence then, the next person we have to talk about is Salah. It has to come up at some point. 12.5 million, he's still the most expensive midfielder in the game. 5 games, 5 returns, 1.26, got 2 assists at the weekend. He's been pretty brilliant this season. Gone under the radar, and mainly I think because there's been so many other decent midfield options. But when they've all blanked, then Salah gets 2 assists. Naturally, whoever it was going to get talked about. Now, for me, he's an absolute shoo-in for game week 9 when you got Everton at home. He comes in when I intend to wildcard during that time. Even if I don't wildcard and I can get away without it, he comes in. Absolutely non-negotiable for me. Unless he gets injured or something like that, even if he blanks the next 3 weeks, I still think I know enough about his underlying stats and how good he is that he will come in for that Everton game. We all know he's been brilliant in the past few seasons. Not a lot has changed, it feels, this season. Perhaps he hasn't got the goals to go alongside his goal involvement as before, and that's what gives us more points. But with few other players being frustrating in terms of Sterling, I could easily drop him and look to bring Salah in and downgrade one of my other players. Rashford and Fernandes not perhaps doing so well. Son and Maddison blanking, frustrating managers at the weekend, and 2 difficult fixtures for Tottenham. I can see why so many people are jumping on him. For me, I'm just going to hold and wait off him for a bit. West Ham at home, they're playing well. Tottenham away and Brighton don't look good enough fixtures for me to want to bring Salah in. And for me, fixtures are absolute king. He comes in for that Everton fixture, and beyond, his fixtures look great. If you want to bring him in, you think he can still tear it up, and he could do against West Ham. He can absolutely get double-digit figures. But I'm not going to be captaining him either with that Forest game that Haaland's got. So that kind of negates the need to bring him in. He is expensive. For me, game week 9, not until then. But yeah, he could do some damage, no question about it. The other player that really interests me, I think he has, well, I know he is the most popular transferred in player, and you can see why. It's no secret. So I am kind of feel like I'm jumping on that FPL bandwagon, but that bandwagon is gathering pace for a reason. His underlying stats look really good, 0.76. He's overachieving, so that's a little bit of a... Is it a concern? Even if he was going along at 0.76, it would be good enough at 6.8 for me to warrant bringing him in. And the minutes, which has always been an issue with City players, look really good. He's only been subbed off, I think, once in the first 5 games. With European fixtures coming up now, though, how's it going to work? Is he going to be rested and prioritised for the league? He would have thought he's going to get some rest at some point. Grealish coming back as well is a concern, as it is with Pep. We've been here a lot in the past. Player in favour, comes in, looks solid, looks nailed, and just when you think it is, he just gets put on the bench. Sort of Foden, I think it was last season as well, where he didn't have a run. He played something like 7-8 games, looking really good. Then, inexplicably, Pep just puts him aside for 3 or 4 games. And that's the risk, isn't it, with Julian Alvarez? Fixtures look brilliant. Wolves away, Forest at home this weekend, Arsenal away. I wouldn't mind playing City against anyone, quite frankly. Brighton at home, you expect them to score in that as well. He just looks really good. Like I said, he's overachieving at the moment. You'd expect that to level off at some point. He's not going to keep up those sort of returns against that goal involvement XGI. It's just minutes. It's just absolute minutes for me. I don't even know in midweek if I want him to play 90 minutes or want him to be rested. I just don't know. So I'm going to just keep an eye on that press conference. The temptation is to be lured in with one of those Pep traps and bring Julian Alvarez in. I just know. It just feels like it's a trap. Bryan Mbeumo is another player. I feel like, is this a point where you're bringing in a player because you've missed a boat? For me, 6.9, if I haven't had him in, I had him in all my drafts up until the final deadline of the first week. Then I fell into that, bringing in Phil Foden, and he's not been a bad asset, but Mbeumo would have been better for me, no question. Underlying stats look great, on pens, playing every minute. Brentford doing really well. First of it the season against Newcastle, but then they've got the home fixture against Everton and away against Forest, followed up by Burnley away. And I don't even think the Man United game would worry them too much. So they have some really good fixtures. If I feel like I'm being put off a little bit because I haven't got him, and do I feel I missed the boat? If I was wildcarding this week, and I did put a wildcard together if you want to go check it out, yeah, he would be in it. So moving forward, what's happened so far shouldn't really worry me, whether I've had him or not, or how many people own him. He could hurt my rank if I haven't got him. At 6.9, he's still a good option. And those fixtures look really good. So it's going to be very hard to ignore Mbeumo. And who do I bring out? For me, possibly not doubling up on that Arsenal defence. I could do that. Sterling could come out. I quite like his fixture this week. 6.9 saves me money as well. There's not many reasons to not like Bryan Mbeumo for me. Still great underlying stats. I really like him at 6.9, even though I feel like I missed a boat up until now. It's not too late to get on board, and he just looks a really good asset. Finally then, it's not very often I'm going to think about bringing in a newly promoted striker for a team that just isn't scoring many goals, but the fact that the fixtures look so good, and the fact he's got a double no one else has, does make me tempted. It's quite easy to get to at 5.5. I could take down Nicholas Jackson, bring him in. I could even upgrade Mbeumo, if that's how you say it, the West Ham striker, and upgrade to a Morris. 4 games, 1 goal, 1 assist. The underlying stats aren't great for him. They're okay. He's on pens. It's just those fixtures and the fact that I'm going to be wildcarding in game week 9, which allows me, I think, to almost dead end this side and bring him in. Does tie up a little bit more money than I'd like to, because if I went to Mbeumo, I'd have to upgrade Morris 5.5. So I'll be losing $1 million there, which I don't like doing. Wolves at home is a decent fixture, I think, for Luton. Then they've got that double away at Everton at home to Burnley. It doesn't get any better. If there's any time I'm going to bring him in, then this is the week. If it was any other side, any other striker had a double when no one else did, and it was Everton at home, Everton away and Burnley at home, if it was a Wolves team, if it was a Palace, I would be absolutely looking to bring those players in. It's just the fact it's Luton and they don't score many goals. So I'm not sure. I don't know if I'm going to bring myself to bring him in this week. I don't think I want to take Jackson out at home to Villa where he's got good fixtures. But the idea of having a double game player does feel really appealing. But realistically, what is the upside? We've been here before. Jackson, even though he hasn't done the business before, could quite easily outscore Morris. But, all it takes is one goal return in that double game week 8. And he has suddenly got more goals. Double game week 7. He'd have more points than Morris. But then the upside's a lot more because he has got 2 bites of the cherry and he's absolutely nailed on. So he is a consideration. I'm thinking about it. If I was going to bring him in, I do think that Wolves fixture is decent enough to bring him in for now. But I've got a few other fires perhaps I need to focus on. But if I had transferred to Burn, I would be tempted just because he's such a differential and the fixtures look so good. But I think I'd only be tempted if I knew I was going to be wild carding him out in game week 9. And then I'd probably just bench him for that Tottenham game but play him away against Forest. That's it for this one then, guys. Let me know in the comments below who you are intending on bringing in for game week 6. In the meantime, we'll come back at you before the deadline with a team selection video. So good luck until then, and I shall speak to you soon.